Nobody ever quits SWAS because it's hard. They quit because they miss their girlfriend or their
Yeah.
wife, or I don't really want to shoot at anybody. They all have these personal realizations at the bottom of the pool. Nobody has these realizations Tuesday evening at dinner. They all
Yeah.
realize at the bottom of the pool that it's not for them, but it's not for reasons about the pool, because the pool's not hard at all.
One's ready. Go!
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room. Before we hop into this next episode with, I'll just call him Rob. I'm not going to say his last name, and you're going to find out why here in a second after I tell you that you should head over to onesready.com. I'm going to walk over there with you, actually. Did you hear what I said? Walk with him in the kingdom of heaven. What movie is that, by the way? Let me know. See if you got it. All right, head over to onesready.com, then scroll over prep on the right-hand side, hit partner discounts. When you see partner discounts, look at the very first person you see, 18 Alpha Fitness. Coach Edgerton was not only an enlisted Green Beret, but he was an officer Green Beret. Also, he was a strength and conditioning coach at Air Force Special Warfare, helping all of you little cones get big and strong and fast. Here is also another little anecdote to give to you. Rob, who is the guest, his son is currently in the pipeline. One of the things that he used was Coach Edge's programming to help him get ready. We talk about his son's DFT, and then we talk about his IFT numbers, and when we talk about where he's at now, and he attributes his success to a couple things, one of which being Coach Edge's programming. So you can hit any of those links, and you know what? I'm going to have to get out of it and then reshare the screen again, so that way you guys can see it, because we're a professional organization here, as you can tell. So he uses Trainerize Me, 18 Alpha Fitness. He's got all the different programs you got right there, and he will tailor make you a program based off of where you are at currently in terms of your fitness levels, how much time you have to get there, and where you need to be at in that amount of time. So he's got programs for everybody: Air Force Special Warfare, TACP, SEAL, Ranger, everything. He knows what the hell he is talking about. Okay. So I don't know why that's gone to that weird kind of screen, but that's okay. So we're going to close it out. Anyway, Rob is our next guest. And dude, I poop you not, I had a great conversation with Rob and really was enlightening. I enjoyed the hell out of it. And it's, man, yeah, it was good. And I hope you guys enjoy as well. All right, we're out here. See you. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room. It's me and Rob. And like I said beforehand, like our pre-brief, I'm not going to mention your last name. The reason why is because your son is currently in the pipeline.
He is.
Yeah.
You know, it just occurs to me behind me is my name on that award. So
They can't see it.
They can't see it?
I can't see it.
All right,
And
cool.
you know what? Even if somebody can actually figure it out, it could be a fun game for him.
There you go. It's like an Easter egg.
Yeah. So,
Perfect.
yeah. And we won't mention your last name. We won't mention your son's name or anything like that, just for his health and well-being, because there are instructors, there are cadre members that watch this, and they are always looking for an opportunity just to provide some extra training and extra attention to students.
Well, I think that's reasonable. I think the more I could encourage that, I think it'll only make him tougher and stronger.
Yeah. Right. I don't think he'd appreciate it as much as you would.
It's okay. Yeah. Fair.
All right, cool. Well, let's kind of get started with this, because we've never had a parent on who is kind of going through the pipeline with their son. And so I got to admit, just because I've spoken to my parents about it, you know, I was 17 when I came in, and I hadn't spent that much time away from home in the past, maybe 2 weeks at the absolute most.
Yeah.
So it was a significant emotional event for myself and for my parents. So far, I guess I'd start with, what has that been like for you?
Yeah, it's our son's a little bit older, so he's not 17. he did. He was in college and pandemic and stuff, so we had that experience of being away a little bit earlier. Um, but yeah, it's been kind of fun to watch him uh, go through all the trials and get kind of a backseat view, I guess you could say, of his experience as he shares it through there. So you're right; it does kind of feel like we're going through it with him, but it's been trying at times, but super proud of him, man. Couldn't be more proud of him.
Oh, I don't doubt that for 1 second. So does the military run in your family?
Yeah. So I was in for 6 in the Navy,
Okay.
80s and 90s. Um, and then his both his grandfathers actually ended up are both Navy. My dad was in for 4 on Kwajalein Island,
Mm.
out in the middle of the Pacific, about equidistant from North America and Australia.
Yeah.
And then not too long after World War II. And then his other grandfather, my wife's dad, served 3, maybe 4 tours in Nam and was on riverboats in Vietnam. And that guy was is an absolute stud. And so all the stuff they dealt with going through there. So there was some military in the family,
Yeah.
but they really have, his whole time growing up, he was not military, pro military thinking. So
Okay, so he wasn't a military brat. You guys like he wasn't traveling around and going from duty station or anything like that.
right, we moved around. I've been in corporate America for a long time, and so um, yeah, we've lived a few different places, but we haven't gone through the duty station cycle like a lot of guys have. A lot of families have too.
Okay, cool. Well, at what point did he kind of know that he wanted to come in and do this? And I haven't said which career field he's going on because if we start doing that, we start talking about like we can say what school that he just finished up and that kind of stuff, but
Eh,
I'm trying to keep it vague so that we don't completely dime him out.
I I think that's fair. But those guys are also pretty sneaky, so I have a feeling somebody will figure it out at some point. But
Some
uh,
point, but maybe it'll take a little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So your question was, what was your question again? I'm sorry, Peaches.
Oh, at what point did he know that he wanted to come in and do Air Force Special Warfare?
Yeah. So he played sports, high school football, and all that, and he was never the biggest guy, but he was a pretty hard worker. Had an opportunity to go play football in college, a smaller school, but a top 5 D3 school. Had an opportunity to go there, had the best freshman season ever, got to be football player on a college campus, have a girlfriend, like be the big guy.
Damn.
And then the pandemic hit. And he was in a state that I'll just say, I guess Aaron wouldn't approve of, right?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't approve of it either. I'm sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
unless it
So
was, the South, like Florida or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Like,
it was not the South.
yeah.
It was a state with winter, and it was hard shut down. And about the third time that he got sequestered for being exposed, he said, I've kind of done all of this I can do, and decided to come home. So he did not finish that. And then he went around for a few years trying to figure out what was next for him. He moved out on his own for a couple of years, going to different places, and really doing what 20-year-olds do, getting the opportunity to learn and see what the world's about. And we had a real conversation about, hey, I think there's a few paths. You can finish school, you can go into trade, or you could go in the military. And we started having real conversations about what are the pros and cons of the military and that sort of thing. And so through those conversations, he came and said one day, hey, maybe I'll look at the military. Originally, we were talking about cybersecurity, something nice and practical from a dad side.
Practical and very applicable on the outside too, and making
100%.
lots of cash.
100%. And he decided to do kind of the opposite of what dad did because I was a fire control. So not a lot of shooting guns and missiles, uh, in the outside world. So I was like, hey, if you focus on a little bit of cybersecurity or something, you'll have some applicability. Hugely growing industry, a lot of opportunity. And he said, yeah, that sounds cool, but I think what I actually want to do is go to aspect work. So, hey, his journey I've always felt like is his journey. It's not my journey to live through him. And, we've always tried to have the mindset of supporting him in his journey and giving him the freedom to fail and make his own decisions and trying to be there to support him. So, it really wasn't, he didn't really start thinking of it. In fact, he gave me some dates on there of, um, it he didn't start thinking of military and AFSPEC war until about July or so of last year
Of 24.
of 24.
Okay.
He took his first DFT in the beginning of August of last year. And yeah, he sent me his numbers because they're ridiculously bad. And, and
Do you have the numbers right now?
I do.
Okay,
So
what are we looking at?
his first numbers from DFT, and remember, he had played football, but they had been out, and most of his football muscles, he complained, didn't apply for what he's doing
Which
here.
is true.
Yeah, yeah. So his first numbers for DFT were a 12:30 mile and a half, 0 pull-ups that
Oh,
counted, that counted.
oh, that counted. Okay.
Yeah. I think he only did a few, but 0 counted. 30 push-ups and 35 sit-ups, and that was about August 1st of last year.
Okay.
Um, and now he said, the IFT is an absolute joke. He's like, not even the IFT. He's like, I could do that. I could do anything, with the,
Yeah.
at
So
any times.
how long did he from when he said, "Hey, I want to go in,"
Yeah.
to seeing a recruiter to shipping?
Yeah. So he talked to his recruiter, I think in July. He finally went and talked to, or I think he went to a regular recruiter first,
Mhm.
and then he connected with a special warfare recruiter. Um, and and I guess I have since learned. So this is not Jared or any of you guys saying this, but I will say what was true in 1987 when I went in the military about recruiters, I believe is still true about recruiters, which is if you do not have it written down, and you're not seeing them provided in writing, treat it with, uh, you know, dubious care. And
Yeah.
so make sure that just because a recruiter is telling you something or telling you have to do something, uh, that's not always the case. So he passed the IFT. He was in development. He passed his first IFT in November. He was in development only from September to December.
Okay.
And his recruiter had told him, as soon as you pass the IFT twice, you have to go in or I'm not going to give you a slot. And so that was his experience.
Nice. I mean, it sounds like that's not that much time in development. In the grand scheme of things, when you hear some of the numbers that some people have been in it for 9 months,
Yeah.
which is another reason why we kinda cap it at a year. Because man, if you can't get to it in a year, you're not really trying after it. So, for him to go from essentially August, September to December, he and I think that's where that sports background kind of helps out because his body already knows what it needs to do, where it needs to
Yeah.
get to. He just had to train and get it to that point.
Well, and I asked him, because after you told me we were coming on, I asked him, what did he credit for some of that? And so kudos to you guys. Obviously, I don't have any interest with you guys, but he did say he did a couple of things that made a ton of difference. One, he watched all the, not just you guys, but he watched a ton of One's Ready content, was super helpful. You guys have done stuff over time that's really gave him a lot of context. Number two, he listened to you guys and invested in Coach Edgerton,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
18 Alpha. And I asked him today, I said, would you do it again? Was it really worth it? And he goes, 100% I would do it again. I would never hesitate to do it. So he
That's awesome.
said that was really kind of instrumental in helping him have the accountability, but also the guidance of specifically what to do. And then he also did a Guardian Grit event. I I don't remember, somewhere in the East Coast. And he said that was super incredible and very
That's
helpful in the
awesome.
skills and getting to know. And it was really cool to get to meet some of the guys. And I don't want to name names, but some of the guys and stuff that are even in some cases I think still active. So
Yeah, I mean, because that's essentially what our operator training summits are now. Is
just
we have partnered with Guardian Grit from
nice.
Chris Thomas, and so those events are what we do. So we've got one coming up in Nashville in 2 weeks, and it's great because they get a chance to not only get instruction and stuff like that, but we do there are certain parts that we leave them alone and they get to connect and see and ask questions from each other and like, hey, what are you doing? What are you experiencing? When are you shipping out? A lot of them end up leaving with the same ship date. So
Yeah.
they get a chance to see each other and go through the pipeline together. So
Yeah.
it's good because it creates that camaraderie and that bond early on before they even join, which
Yeah.
I'll tell you, as a 17-year-old, would have
I-
loved to have had.
It was petrifying. We didn't even have the internet when I went in. We didn't know. We didn't have any idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Everything that happened was a surprise. So the more you can get skills and exposure, I think he had said, that was a huge deal for him to be able to make that ramp up kind of that fast. And the other thing, I mean, he had said he had heard you guys say, time on feet,
Mhm.
really important. He went and got a job as a server and he was waiting tables, walking 17,000 steps a day or whatever, um,
Oh,
on, just like a 8-10 hour shift waiting tables. And so he never had any foot issues or anything like that, through basic or through the pipeline. So
yeah. I think people overlook that, and it's so easy to go, "Oh, yeah, it's time on your feet," and 10,000 steps a day is kind of the bare minimum which you should be getting, and when you start talking about 17,000 steps onward,
mm,
plus whatever he was doing training and stuff like that. I mean, it makes a massive difference. So he probably didn't have any issues with plantar fasciitis, any kind of shin splints, any kind of aches. I mean, he definitely for sure had aches and pains, but they weren't related to the amount he was running, walking,
yeah.
rucking, or anything like that.
And he just said you just got to take it seriously. Like, so if you take, it's not a ton of different things. You just got to, if you have somebody telling you what to do, like I forget, Coach Edgerton or whatever, um, you're going to a course to learn some of the skills, because a lot of it he had told me was just all the unique things that they don't deal with. They don't deal with mask and snorkel and all the underwaters and all the 10 ups and all the
Yeah.
stuff that you guys do. And even though the first Black Thursday, the first text I got is, well, that was the most heinous thing I've ever been a part of in my life.
Yes, it is. It is
Um,
awful.
but I think even so, it's just the more you can make it familiar, it becomes less scary. It's a little more known and stuff. It's still incredibly trying, but
Yeah. Well, so you bring up a good point though, in terms of he called you after the first Black Friday and said, "Holy cow, that was the most horrendous thing I've ever done in my life." So, how? I guess what was that like for you being on the receiving end? Because it's not like you can. The best you can do is be a safety net via voice.
yeah.
Really, I mean, what is that like?
You know, I think dad's my in our experience, my family's experience, your mileage may vary, but in my wife and I's experience, she was the one a little more worried about, is he going to be okay? Is he, you know, is he upset or whatever? I'm a little,
Mama bear.
yeah, and she would call herself that too. I was always more the one of, hey, and we saw it in high school football and college football, and dude, you got that, like you're capable of it. And we would laugh at the trauma, a little bit, like, like, yeah, that sounds awful. I'm glad it's you, like, we would work through those things and just reminding him that he's kind of a badass and he's got this. And the last thing he needs, because anytime anybody's going through that kind of trial, they've got their own self-talk and they're trying to
Mhm.
keep it positive. The last thing he needs is me diving in and, oh, are you okay? Are you sure? Do you still want to do it? Like, no, like suck it up, Buttercup. That's like it's what you signed up for. And you're a stud. That's incredible. I'm a cheerleader for you. But just reminding him, hey, you can do this. You've been through stuff before, reminding him of other trials and other things he's overcome that he didn't think he could do. And
Yeah.
so just being there to cheerlead for him and stuff. And I guess with a little bit of military, although not at all like you guys experience, I always feel like that's the safest place for him to be. Yeah, he's got you know a bazillion PJs around that every time somebody goes unconscious underwater, the best possible place for that to happen, right?
Yep.
So it's much more about encouraging him to continue and reminding him of who he is, and he's I'm obviously biased, but I mean, if you look at him, you would never guess he played college football. If you look at him, you'd never guess he's done some of the things. So just reminding him of who he is and what he's done and try and be a cheerleader for him more than feed into the self-doubt or bad self-talk.
Yeah, I mean, did he ever text you or call you with like, "Hey, man, I don't know that this is for me."
No, the funny thing is he said, of those that quit, he said, number one, nobody ever quits SWAS because it's hard. They quit because they miss their girlfriend or their
Yeah.
wife, or I don't really want to shoot at anybody. Or he said, the crazy thing though is they all have these personal realizations at the bottom of the pool. He's like, nobody has these realizations, Tuesday evening at dinner. He's like, they
Yeah,
all
yeah.
realize at the bottom of the pool that it's not for them, but it's not for reasons about the pool because the pool's not hard at all.
No.
Um, and and so, the only thing he said, I remember, and I can't remember if it was 10 ups, where they're doing full OCPs. They're doing 10 on one of the Black Thursdays. They're doing
Yeah,
full OCPs and
yeah, and you're
underwater.
you're on you either separate on both sides of the pool, the
Yeah.
width of the pool, or maybe everybody's lined up depending on how many people and how much they wanna make it suck. Everybody could be lined up on one side and then push-ups and enter the water and that kind of stuff.
And he said after three, for whatever reason, I guess he wasn't feeling great that day. And he's like, I would have bet hard money that I can't do 10, that I'm just going to go out. And I guess they have a thing called crack or black or whatever, right?
Mhm.
That there's a crack on the other end of the pool that they have to touch.
Yep.
And I'm either going to black out or I'm going to get to the crack. And, um, and so as he was, going through that, he said, I think there were, 10 ups and he said, I'm about 100% sure if I go again, I'm going to black out. And then he said, the great thing, if I black out, it's over because they're going to take me out. Right. And I'm not going to be inside and they're going to take me out in the other. So I'm just going to go. And then at the worst case,
Whatever
the
happens,
PJ,
happens.
they're going to pull me out of the water and it's going to be over. And he said he was actually frustrated. He got to the other side and made it and didn't black out. And he still had 6 to go. So,
Yeah.
um,
Man, I got 6 more to go, and I'll tell you what, after you pass out, you feel like your body and your mind got a hard reset, like you've slept for 14 hours uninterrupted, and you wake up and you're like, "I feel amazing. Now get back in the pool," and you're like, "Oh god."
I mean, that was the only time he said he thought a little bit about like, there's no way I can physically he was thinking in his mind, there's no way that I can actually do this. But he was like, I'm just going to go and whatever happens, happens. And, he was tough. I think it's tough for all of them. He was rolled,
Mhm.
in his class. Um, And so that was for the final. I don't know that I don't remember this standard, but the final one before durability week,
Okay.
the
I think
final,
it's a CFT
I
probably.
think so. And the funny thing is, he passed everything, all the hard stuff. He was short on sit ups by three of all things. And what they said is I mean, he could do enough sit ups, but he didn't pace himself the right way.
Oh, yeah.
And he just got too gassed too early. And he ended up being three short. And so he
So
got rolled.
that's what caused the roll? Okay.
Yeah. He's by three sit ups, he got rolled. So, um, but, now he looks at those numbers. He's like a little bit of a blessing in disguise because, I mean, they're kind of, joke numbers anymore. So
Yeah. No, and that's interesting because he's an older dude, so if it was last year, he was probably what, 22, 23 when he came in?
he was, I'm going to be in trouble. 24 when he went in.
24?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
24, 23. Yeah. Yeah.
well,
I think he's just turned 24 when he went in.
so he's older, he's got some life experience,
Yeah.
and he's got some physical experience, but he's not what we'd call, and I'm guessing here, he's not an Adonis, he's not a physical
Right.
specimen.
Right.
So did you ever get did he ever talk to you about, man, I am surrounded by monsters here? Or because he's kind of that age and he's got more life experience and more mature, he was able to recognize, okay, this is a process. All this, as chaotic as it seems, is very intentional.
Yeah. I do think, I feel like I get like some sort of referral code for this, for, one's ready and judge, but, he did say that stuff helped him understand the context of what they're really going to be facing, especially the, Guardian Grit, where he went and they taught him and they taught him, as far as the various things they could do and mask and recovery or whatever, all the stuff they're doing. He said it made it less overwhelming because you had context through there. So he said there were absolutely some huge physical specimens, some dudes that you're like, unbelievable. But he also said, and I've heard, I've watched you guys as a parent just to have a little context, but he also said some of those guys pretty quick to quit
Yeah.
too.
It's
And
surprising. And and that's why I was kind of curious about it because, he's an older dude. Um, and comparing him to when I went through, 17, 18, and I'm a little guy, right? I'm 5'4" at best. At that time, I was 145 pounds.
yeah,
And as we're lined up on the pool deck, I'm looking at some absolute monsters who are all older than me as well. Some of them were in the Air Force already. And I'm going, dude, I do not belong here. I am in the wrong place. And as we start going through every day pool sessions, and it starts going fewer and fewer, and people that I thought, dude, they've got this,
yeah,
they belong here, were dropping as soon as it got hard. And
yeah.
that's why it's you can't necessarily look at somebody and go, they have what it takes to suck it up and go through it.
Yeah, his best friend in boot camp that, they had talked before and everything, they were go, 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 the exact same thing, quit, in the pool. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and he quit and he's like, well, I guess, there he goes. It's sad to see his best friend go, but it, kind of was what it was. And you saw some of that. So you're right. You don't know what's inside people till you
Yeah.
put them under
And
the
that,
ground.
and that friend, because we do bond with certain people there. And if your friend does bounce and quits, it can put that person in a spiral as well, because then it adds in more doubt, or they're just super bummed out that, hey, I don't have my buddy to lean on, to rely on, and vice versa. And it can be contagious.
It was, I think, the most mature thing he said, through that, if I'm remembering right, was, I guess he wasn't who I thought he was. And so it's not a reflection on, my son. He was like, it's not a reflection on me so much as it was, he just wasn't who I thought he was or who he said he was. And
Yeah.
so, I just got to go on. I'm not going to ruin my career because somebody else, you know, made a different choice.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, all right, like I said, we'll talk about what. So he's already been past assessment selection or SWAS. He's finished up SEER,
He did.
right?
He just got back from Syria.
Okay. So he's finished up SEER. And then I got to imagine, based off of today being the 16th of October, which you're not supposed to do, by the way, on podcasts. If you're going to bank this in a library, you're not supposed to say what the day is because then they realize like you're releasing it super late. But
Fair
so
enough.
essentially, he could be in the next Zulu course. Just based off of the date range, I don't know for sure, but it looks like he's going to be in the next Zulu course.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. So that's going to be exciting because that's kind of the first one that's going to be a true Zulu course. And so it's going to be interesting to see how some of the feedback comes out of it and what he ends up telling you. So, I mean, like how actually, let me take a step back. How often do you guys talk?
So we're really fortunate, because he's obviously at Lackland. He's going through some stuff, and we're not that far away, and so we'll text. I want to say daily, but pretty close to daily, or every couple of days or a few days, depending upon what's going on. And he actually has the ability to swing by for Sunday lunch or something
Oh,
sometimes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's we're super fortunate. So we get the opportunity. And we've always last few years been really pretty close, just relationship wise. So we just normally talk a fair amount.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, just being right down the road, that's a game winner. Has he brought friends by the house and everything for some
Yeah,
nice home cooked meals?
he likes to bring friends by when he knows mom and dad are traveling or out of town,
Oh,
especially. And they have a good time, which is fine. I don't care. I got a pool and stuff. Go, have a great time. I don't care.
uh, so that part, the partying part, still is
Yeah.
still a thing.
Yeah. Other than a fair amount of my beer and stuff being gone after the weekend when I come home, which he's committed to replace at some point. Yeah, and now it's on
It's down the
record.
road.
Yeah.
It's down the road. He's not making enough money to replace it right now with the
I'm
amount
not
they're
worried.
taking, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not worried.
No, that's awesome. Um, so I guess kind of a what would you say to parents that their kids are going through this? Because we hear from parents all the time.
Yeah.
Some of them are, "Hey, I'm concerned about my son going in to do Air Force Special Warfare and being, combat arms and that kind of stuff," or I'm worried about their preparation, or I'm trying to like motivate them and that kind of stuff. So, like, I mean, what kind of advice? And that's such a broad question, and I recognize that, but like, I don't even know where to begin because I'm not in. I've never been where you're at.
Well, number one at a high level, we had to come to terms with as our kids got older. This is about them now in their journey. It's not about me. Um, we kind of evolved in our relationship. When they're little, you manage them. You keep them alive and manage them. Um, and then it goes to a little bit of mentoring and helping them. And now I feel like we're in a place with our kids, and our youngest is 22, where it's more about supporting their journey. And so it doesn't matter that I didn't think his decision to leave college was probably the best one at the time. It didn't matter that, I would have probably picked something different for him, at different points. It's about supporting his journey because at the end of the day, I had the opportunity to live my life, to make my choices. I care more about the relationship with him and being connected with him and being there for him than I am running his life. And so I think part of the hard thing, and I do think, again, other families may be different. In my family, it was harder for my wife to
Mm,
let that go than it was for me. And then because I think, I believe my son knows that at the end of the day, he he can listen to my opinion if he asks for it and still make a different decision, and
Mhm.
it's going to be okay, right? So that frees up the ability for him. When they're teenagers, a lot of times they don't want to listen at all. They don't want to hear anything. They think they know, and then they get a little bit of life on them. They start to realize maybe they don't know everything they thought they knew,
No.
and then but then it gets to a point where I can give him feedback. Hey, I had an experience with a recruiter. Is it okay? Do you want to share a couple of watch out fors?
Yeah.
Um, this was one where I gave him my opinion. He disagreed. He made a different decision than I would have, and it was okay. I mean, he went on a SWOV contract. Um, I really suggested he wait for a guaranteed contract. He was only like 3 months in development, but he was listening to the recruiter a little bit. And I think that recruiter was trying to hit some numbers or whatever.
Mhm.
And hey, I get it. It's a job. I understand what it is. Um, but build the kind of relationship where you can share your perspectives that will be helpful, but also be okay with those times where, as his own man, he's going to make his own decision, you know?
Yeah.
So that was kind of pre going in. And then during it, I just have tried to be a cheerleader for him and just remind him of who he is, remind him he's a stud, remind him of all the places he's won in life and all the successes he's had. Because when you're going through those kind of trials, that's not the first thing you're thinking of. Right.
Yeah.
So trying to be supportive on there and just be a soft place for him to vent, you know, and without judgment and without advice is the other thing, unless he asks for it. So I have a, business mentor, and he always said, unsolicited advice can be abuse. And so
No.
if you're not asking what I think and I'm always telling you what I think, that's not supportive of the relationship, and that's kind of abusive. And so I will ask for permission to share a thought. Um, but I also recognize my main role is to be a soft place and to be a cheerleader and an encourager. And if I see landmines, to let him know, hey, there could be a landmine there. Do you want? And if he's comfortable with the risk, like in the SWOV contract, um, then that's his call.
Yeah.
So,
And, no, I can get on board with that, absolutely, and the good thing about the SWOE that we are actually kinda going away from that now, and I'm
mm,
trying to think of the timeline. 2024, I think the guarantee was starting to make a comeback,
yeah,
and talking to the career field functional managers, they actually wanna go to 100% guarantee and go
yeah,
away from SWOE. Now, there are still some folks that are doing SWOE, and that's fine, and that's okay, it's not a bad product, um, but if you can go in and you go, "I want to be a PJ, I want to be a controller, SR, Tech P," you you're guaranteed to get what you get. Now
well, it's
there might be some other things on the backside of that, whereas if you quit or something like that,
fun.
you may fall into other jobs that you're like, "Oh my god, I would never have gone this way."
Yeah, for sure. And I asked him for his advice and took notes on what he said on, for the guarantee contract thing and just other guys going in. I asked him, what would you say to other guys? He said, number one, if you only want one job, you probably are better off getting a guaranteed contract. He said, but also understand that jobs are always changing
Mhm.
and it's going to be different than you probably expect before you start. Whatever the job is, like whatever you read on the brochure, whatever is going to be different. And he said, so keep an open mind wherever that path goes. He said, also take the time to train. He said, you don't have to go from zero to hero in 3 months or 4 months. Um, he said, you should take your time, overtrain what you need to make it, applying steady pressure every day, focusing on doing just a little bit better. Focus on cals and cardio. Lifting won't serve you well, and even the best ruckers are usually the best runners. I don't know if that's true or not. Uh, and he said, focus on grip strength. He said, you'll need grip strength, and people don't
Yep.
talk about it enough.
Time on feet and grip strength and running. Because what we
Yeah.
found is, although, being a great runner with a lot of mileage is not a guarantee that you will make it, when we look at everything holistically, and
Yeah.
generally speaking, the better runners are have a better chance statistically of making it. Part of that is because running, you're inside your own head and you're dealing with that suck and that challenge and everything like that. So it kind of forces you to deal with it on your own.
Yeah, and he went from like that 12 and a half mile and a half to, he's a little over 6 minute miles an hour, I think, is kind of where he's been. So yeah, running was a big deal for him. And he also said you can overdo it on the rucks, too. You could
Yeah.
do too much on that.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
that's why, like, generally we're and I'm no fitness trainer, I leave that up to Coach Edgerton and some of the, like, modern athlete strength folks, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't ruck more than twice a month personally, and
Yeah.
not any more than 45 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah. So, not knowing all the pieces on that, but that was kind of a big deal for him and seeing what that looks like. So, um, but yeah, that's kind of my excuse me, suggestion. Little Black Rifle coffee. I
No
saw
big
you
deal.
yesterday with Jared, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'd represent since you had this Starbucks cup.
Oh, I like to troll Jared. He trolls me all the time, so I gotta give it right back.
Yeah, perfect.
Um,
But yeah, so I think that's just a lot of it. And I can't speak obviously for every family or every, marriage or whatever. I know in our marriage, the other thing in our house was I also had to be very reassuring for my wife as
yeah,
well. She doesn't have any military experience other than, her dad and stuff was gone for a long time. But she doesn't have that same kind of context. And so when she gets the mama bear protective kind of thing, um, it's the encouraging her and letting her know he's going to be okay. It's just hard, and it's
yeah,
hard for a reason. You want it hard because he's got a hard job, and what you don't want a soft entryway into that. And so that was a big thing in our house too, was just encouraging my wife and stuff as well. So, um, that would be another thing, I guess.
yeah. No, that's absolutely. We want to prepare the person for the road, the bumpy road, not prepare the road for the person. So,
Right.
I and I think you'd be surprised how many. Yeah, when we start talking about parents that are in our inbox or our DMs,
Oh
it's
yeah.
actually more mothers than it is fathers. And some of that is, hey, updates, which we really appreciate. We loosely follow people, not by name, but just by, kind of because they're not giving us updates. It's usually
Right.
the parents that are giving us updates. So it's cool because you can see the joy and they're beaming with pride about their son going through the pipeline, and hey, he just passed SWAS, and now your son just finished up SEER and all that kind of good stuff. So
Yeah.
it's really
Well,
good to see.
you didn't tell me to say this, and but I will say, talking about advice to other parents. For me personally, when you're feeling disconnected, you don't really know what's going on. You guys' podcast was super helpful. I'd go back and I'd look at different videos that are relevant to Black Thursday or whatever, or I'd go back to uh, just different components, and it was super helpful. It felt like even though you guys are not active anymore, you used to be when I started watching, and
You've gotten
and
older now.
I feel you, brother. Um, and just wait, it's worse. The but just doing that, and then the other thing I would tell, and again, I'm not sucking up to you guys, but uh, that members only content is a little more, I'll say, raw and a little more real than
Yeah,
the public stuff. And so I tell any parent, spend the freaking $3 a month or whatever it is for the members thing, at least the low
I
tier for you
appreciate it.
guys. I mean, it's $3. What are we doing? So, and for me, I like the member content more than, and again, I don't get anything out of it. I'm solely telling you what genuinely helped me. I'm not trying to pump you guys up.
Hey, yeah, I got it.
$3 isn't going to, the dollar a piece of you guys isn't going to change your life or whatever. So, um, but that was the other thing for me, and then just staying, kind of connected and allowing them to communicate on their own time.
Yeah.
I don't know
No,
what's
that's good.
going on. I don't know what's going on in his life for that day or whatever. And so the last thing he needs is, 55 phone calls from me or texts of what's going on or what happened with this. So I allow, some days he just needed to vent.
Yeah.
Some days he needed to tell us how hard it was and we could encourage him. Some days he wanted to share a cool story about something he overcame, but that we tried to be there for them, and he could communicate what's going on his terms and at his time. Last thing we wanted to do was be an additional burden or
Yeah.
drain on him.
Yeah. Oh, great. I gotta answer a phone call or text to mom and dad and update them on
Right,
something. Yeah. So
right.
I have, because I take notes, like, what changes did you see in him from when he entered? Because I know my parents saw significant changes,
Yeah.
and I was always a confident person, but going through the pipeline, I mean, it must have been out of control. I must have been terrible to be around.
Yeah. So it's a humbling experience, right?
Mhm.
I've not been through it, obviously, but it seemed like a humbling experience because you're going, without oxygen for extended periods of time, and you're doing things that you shouldn't have to, ever have done before. And so it's humbling for him. Uh, I mean, physical, obviously, he got way stronger. Um, the things that, I mean, pull-ups were the bane of his existence when he started. Um, and in football, they're doing push stuff.
Yeah.
Everything's push related, not pull related. And so he just never had spent a ton of time on pull-ups. And, and then it's not just pull-ups, but technique on the pull-ups, for, Air Force, it matters a lot.
Yes, it does.
Eh, And so I saw it. We saw physical changes, but what's cool is we also saw him start to believe through the process. Every hurdle, he'd start to believe. He'd see guys quit that he thought were way better than him, and he's like, "Hey,
Yep.
maybe I'm okay." He'd do different things, and every time we connected, he was a little bit more confident. And now he's like, "I can't believe, you go through selection, and now I'm one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't have beret or anything, but I'm one of those guys, and I'm in Sear, they're hunting us with helicopters and dogs, in
Yeah.
Sear, and, you know, it's getting to do that kind of stuff. So, it's cool to see him grow up. When we talked about the military initially, um, so my whole life, my whole career, I'm mid-50s now. My whole career, I kept my military experience on there, and even though it was a lifetime ago. And in interviews, it's been a long time since I did a job interview, but in interviews, I'd always leave it on there, and I'd say, "Listen, everything that happens past that day, that last day, is my work experience, and that's super relevant. I've got, we could talk about, situations, but the things that help define me and build me into who I am happened before that day and
Mm.
happened during that time there, where it's where I learned personal discipline. It's where I learned, on our ship, or when I was in, we had an acronym FIFO. If you don't know how to do something and you got to get it done, you figure it, out.
FL.
And,
Yep.
and so, what are you going to do? I don't know. FIFO. Like, I don't know. Nobody's coming to figure it out. Like, you learn self-reliance, you learn, you learn expertise, you get a lot of, you learn that you can do more than you think you can do.
Yep.
And not to get on a tirade, but I do think a lot of kids, and I saw it with our kids somewhat, but I think it's even worse now. We have a soft culture um, where kids don't they've never been asked to and expected to do anything really hard, and you know, the world is structured around them versus them having to measure up to what the world is.
Mhm.
And so, the military is a great teacher that the world does not, in fact, revolve around you, and builds discipline and expectations, and it teaches you, hey, I'm capable of so much more. And I think this pipeline that's what it's all about, teaching those kids that they're capable of so much more than they thought they were. When my son thought he was gonna pass out underwater and kept
Oh,
going.
I'm sure he was I guarantee I'm passing out for sure.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of this book. I'm looking it up right now because, uh, Brilliant Unlock is it Brilliant Leaders? Because I just saw that this guy released a book and he talks about exactly what you're talking about, but I don't know if this is the name of it. Let's see. Yeah, okay. It's called Team Intelligence:
Mm,
How Brilliant Leaders Unlock Collective Genius by John Levy. And I just watched a podcast with him on it. Because this book just released and it's on the so he's doing all the podcast tours, but he talks about exactly what you just were talking about,
mm,
with backed up with science and tons of interviews and that kind of stuff. And
yeah.
it's interesting. Might be worth checking out, but
It
it's
I will, and I'll tell you, that stuff transfers into the rest of your life, because it's not like you stop being confronted with things that you think are too hard to overcome when the day you get out of the military. Like, the rest of your life's that way, and to build that understanding that you're capable of more than you thought it was. I remember he came back to me and he said, I hate to say this, Dad, but the hardest sentence I'll probably ever have to say, um, I think you were right. Um, he said, I'm surprised at how many guys just quit. It gets
uh,
hard and they just don't want to, they just can't keep going. And you're like, dude, they're telling us what to do. Just do the thing. And he's like, and they just get to a place mentally where I can't do it. Yeah, sure you can. Like,
yep.
we'll go together, do it together. And it's just um, that mental resilience thing to be able to get to that place.
Yeah, and going to that, then going FIFO and stuff like that, it's super important. It's that is those soft SOFT skills
Yeah.
that we're talking about. Is although I may not be able to, and this is not a great example. I'm not able to program Excel, or I'm not able to, write code for something, or something like that. But when a problem presents itself and I don't know what I'm doing, I am going to figure it out, or I'm going to attack it. I'm not just going to go, dude, that's a hard problem. I'm
Yeah.
out of here. Nope.
Well, and I'll tell you, hopefully encourage parents, but also maybe kids going through or thinking about going through, and this is obviously not, I don't mean it to be self serving. My personal experience was, getting out of the military, you have a set of skills in this area specifically that the vast majority of the public doesn't possess. And so I've been very, very blessed and grateful to have, a lot of professional growth and opportunity and kind of some, worldly success. Um, I attribute the vast majority of that not to, unique intelligence or some unique ability. It's these skills that you're able to translate over into the real world, to be able to solve problems, to be able to work as part of a team, to be able to do whatever it takes, um, and to be able to apply that stuff when most people quit or don't understand or think it's too hard or need somebody else to do it or
Yeah.
ever blame whoever else for their problems. It's just, I think it's an underrated component of the military that I think yields a ton of benefits for a lot of people after they
Yeah.
get.
And it's a team first mentality versus a, hey, what's in it for me kind of thing. It's
Yeah,
the collective, which is rare. And you said that, you spent quite a bit of time, you've spent more time in corporate America than you have
by
in the,
far.
so in the military. So I mean, you've had to have noticed that being in corporate is that the majority of people won't even skip a lunch to help you out kind of thing. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's probably a bit extreme, but I mean, that's like, wait a minute, you want me to work overtime or you want me to work extra hours to
Yeah.
help you out with this project? Like, I'm not doing that. Whereas the military, it's like, yeah, okay, well, like, what do we got? What are we working with?
Yeah. And um, again, I don't want to go too off the rails. But I would say the entitled mentality of I'll do X, but you have to, I need to have every advantage. I need to have every tool. I need to have enough thing. I never need to be asked to do anything beyond the very letter of the law of my job description. I never, and you get people around you in the business world uh, that just kind of have that FIFO mentality. You're going to dominate
Yep.
most of the competition. You're going to dominate a lot of the peers. A lot of companies are going to see the value of that. You're going to grow in your career because you're just willing to do what other people aren't willing to do. So I went in at 18 because I couldn't afford college. Like that wasn't even a thing. Um, and uh, started going back to school, worked full time, traveled 50% and took 12 hours of school and at a time. And I remember at the time, the company was paying for it at a great school, a really, really great school. Company was paying 100% of it.
Nice.
I was going for free. In fact, hopefully I'm probably past statute of limitations now, but but like, they also, GI Bill also sent me money. Like I'm
Yeah.
the only guy I know that made money going to school. But even with all that, I had peers where I worked at the time that said, "Man, why are you guys not going finishing a degree? Why are you guys not getting an MBA? Like, why are you not doing? Oh, I'm too busy. I don't really think I have time." And you're like, "Man, what are you talking about?" And so now it's just another example of being willing to do in the short term
Hmm.
um, to for long term benefit. I remember telling my mom that, "Mom, I'll be 36 years old by the time I get my MBA in 3 years if I go through this process." And she's like, "Wow, that sounds hard." I'm like, "Yeah, it's a lot of work and all that." And she goes, "Yeah, how old will you be in 3 years if you don't do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, you're going to be 36. You're either going to be 36 with an MBA or 36
Yeah,
without it."
exactly.
And so it's just kind of one of those deals of that whatever it takes kind of mentality. I'm a huge proponent of the value military can bring and probably aspect war probably even more so.
Yeah. So the kind of last question that I'd ask you is, and this is not for the parents. This is actually for folks that are in the pipeline or are considering going in the pipeline. Is how can so I'm going to flip it here. How can they best support you as a parent, like in terms of giving you
Mm,
information? Um, I, we've already kind of talked about like not prying too much and that kind of stuff, but like, how could your son have helped you more?
yeah, I think he was a little more mature and able to do this better than he probably would have been 5 years earlier or 4 years earlier. Um, but I think number one, and again, I'm sure every situation is different, every family is different, every parent's different. But by and large, your parents want nothing but the best for you. And I would guess the vast majority of them are not actually trying to control your life. What they're trying to do is put you in a better position than maybe they were in, or not make some of the same mistakes they did. Right. And so being open to feedback or being open to conversations, even if at the end of that process you make a different decision, is really good. Because I was fine with my son going in on an open special warfare contract once he understood the trade offs,
Mhm.
right, and the risks involved. And so being open. The other thing is, it's okay to be transparent and authentic in the process. You're not going to have 100% of your days good days. You're not gonna. It's okay to share. You don't want to whine and complain, but it's okay to share when you're struggling and have them there in your corner because your parents are almost, again, every situation is different, but they're there to support you, and they want to be a cheerleader for you. They want the best for you. And so just understand that and take it in context. And when they say stupid things like I do sometimes that don't even relate or apply, you can always say, thank you for your input. That I appreciate that. And then you can still make a different decision. You don't have to be, you're not seven again anymore. You don't have to obey everything they're saying, but having the freedom to listen and be open,
Just a
because
little
it's
bit of
coming from a
grace.
good place.
Just a little bit of grace. That's all you're asking for.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit of grace.
Dad, stupid.
Yeah. And they're probably right? Like, yeah, it could be stupid or not apply, but uh, you also may find yourself saying that and then 5 years later coming back like my son did and saying the hardest, sentence he says, which is,
Yeah.
Dad, I think you were right on this. Oh,
Rob, my parents are still right about so much stuff that I'm just numb to that now where it's like, yeah, Dad, you're right.
yeah. And I'm there, I always say that, hey, if this is a path of life, right? My path is not superior to your path. But if I'm further down and I've seen more stuff, maybe I have broader context about what you're going through at that moment. Maybe not, but maybe I've got other viewpoints based on more life experience that I can share that might be helpful so that you can make the best decision for you.
Yeah.
And
No,
that's kind of
I
how we
agree.
try to.
No, that's great. Uh, Rob, I appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot. This is a great conversation. I've had a blast. It was eye opening for me. And then to your son out there, keep your head down. Eventually, somebody is going to find this and realize who you are, and you may pay the man for it, but it's going to be well worth it.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't go well, we can always do a supplemental short reel or
Right?
something. Just show baby photos, or we could do embarrassing stories, depending upon how we want to run this thing. So,
Exactly.
no, I appreciate it, and I will say also, you may want to edit this out, but yeah, I reached out to you on Instagram even before he went in, and with some questions of like, "Hey, am I completely off base?" And you were, I didn't take a ton of time, a quick question, but you were great, giving me some feedback as well. So you guys have better real time feedback than even I do. So
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it, and thanks for the support, not just from us, but supporting your son. And so it's pretty awesome that he gets to go out there and serve. Because I tell you what, if I could do it all over again, I absolutely would. So,
stay tuned.
everybody out there, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave us a review, comment down below, and if you do have questions, I'm sure Rob wouldn't mind hopping in the comments section and answering anything you guys got. And we're out here. See you.
Thanks.